let's go back to the Zoom class, because that when I was talking about, I've talked to small gym owners about how they had to survive.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how was it having to kind of change what your really what your talent, skill, trade is, and then have to take it to a Zoom class, which is tough. Some things you can, but this, obviously it's physical. You
Mm-hmm.
have to touch. And first, I want to go back. You were talking about when you were first evolving it from the gym at Cheetah and how people saw it. I think that has to do with you as an instructor too. I realize not every instructor in that environment can do well and succeed. I think it goes back to your personality and your openness and just how you can do it. Because if you're a different type of bro or just somebody who's really hardcore, that would be a tough environment to kind of succeed and evolve in.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think a lot of people who want to do this as a living could have survived in that. And I think that goes to show just how your personality is able to, wherever you're at, kind of succeed. So I think that goes to you. You have to be the person to do that. Not everyone's going to succeed in that. Those are the people that are going to either get thrown out or just aren't going to do well. You can't grow classes. It's your personality. Believe me, I've taught classes and things, not everybody liked what I was doing because I was going a little too hardcore. But that's just because the nature of the sport that I wasn't, they knew I was me and they appreciated that. But sometimes they're like, I'm not coming to your class today.
Oh yeah, I had plenty of folks who would say hi to me every day with a big smile on their face. I'm like, hey, we say hi every day. Why don't you ever come over? Why don't you take any of my classes? They're like, you are way too hard for me. And I'm like, you've never tried one. They're like, I see how people walk out of your classes. So, it's hard for me to accept. I know it. But the reality is we're not going to be for everybody all the time, right? So, although I try to be, you can't be. And you just can be who you are and hope for the best, right? And,
Well, look at you. You came in sweaty off the bike, and I knew you looked kind of scary. I thought you were going to rob me because you're all sweaty.
Still thinking about it.
You're still like,
yeah, I'm a sweaty, intense guy.
Mongrel.
Yeah,
I could see how.
The worst is like yesterday, I was trying to teach this woman Muay Thai, and I could tell right away. And her coach takes my classes. And she's a perfectionist.
Michael,
oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, you have a strong voice.
Okay.
That's good.
So, I could tell she's a perfectionist. Mm-hmm. Sometimes perfectionists are the hardest people to train, period. And so I'm like, look, we're here to have fun. You need to relax and all this. And I realize I'm talking a little louder because the music's going and I'm a loud talker. I'm just used to talking in gyms and I'm excited to teach. And so people take that energy. And so I'm like, all I can think of is this stand-up comedian who had a bit years ago about a little girl was in a grocery store with her mom, and her mom was screaming at her, relax! And so he's like, she's not going to understand. So I feel like that sometimes where I'm like in somebody's face going, you really need to relax, and that's the best way you're going to get the most out of martial arts. And as I'm dripping in sweat and all this, and I'm like, and I know I'm an intense guy, so I do try to, I'm trying to be more cognizant of that, but it's really tough sometimes to go up to somebody and go, we're having a blast over here, and you're just dripping and,
Well, especially with all the tats and you're getting aggressive. But yeah, it's definitely not it's not typical of what they see. But, excitement is excitement, passion is passion. It's hard to...
It is. I'm excited to be alive. It's, I wake up every day and I'm just like, I really hope, I try to make people's day that I'm around a little better. I really hope. I really hope when it came to opening up a gym, I was like, okay, do I do the wrestling route and you step onto the mats and you wrestle? There's no, you say good morning, you shake your coach's hand, but there's no bowing. There's no helping your partner off the mat. There's no, if you say sorry too much, they're going to get annoyed with you. Like you only say sorry if you really like jab somebody in the eye or something, you better, other than that, and even then your partner's going to be like, dude, it's fine. It's wrestling. And we're going to poke each other in the eye. Or do you go the judo route where we line up, we bow to the instructor, we turn, we bow to a portrait of the creator of judo, We then kneel. We do a moment of meditation. We bow. We stand back up. We bow. And then it's very traditional in that sense. So since I've trained in such extremes, I was like, which ones of these do I keep? I don't want to be too disrespectful to the arts. And I think some of the things can be good for a culture. But one of the only things that I really kept was I like the idea of bowing onto the mats because it gives you a chance to say that. As I tell people, I'm like, even if you don't do it for any other reason, whatever your daily mantra that day you need, or your life mantra, whatever it is, before you step onto the mats, at minimum, just be like, my day's gone. I'm here to have fun. It could be that minimum, like the perfectionist should go, every rep is over when it's done. That's a mantra like that. Don't think about the last rep, whatever your thing is. Boom, move on.
If you think you're a perfectionist, try jiu-jitsu and try to be perfect at that. It's
not going to happen.
Frustrated immediately.
Mm-hmm. Immediately.
But that's kind of the idea of what
right.
Learning something new and so technical that you have to learn. That'll just humble you. And that might be great for a perfectionist who needs to, if it bleeds into their normal life and it just affects them in their normal life, where people are like, hey, try to be more human. You want to be human, you try to show up to, jiu-jitsu class and, everyone's trying to choke you out and you're just fumbling around like a spaz.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out how to handle that. I mean, there's nothing more humbling. I mean, even to this day, it's still humbling, and that's what's. Some people take it and accept it. Go, yes, I want to learn that. Like I do in the summer. Like I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to be hit. I don't want to be choked. I don't want anybody imposing their will on me.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're in a class with everybody else who wants to do it. They're not really going to impose their will. It's a skill. It's a technique. You go back and forth. There's a partnership. They want to learn. You want to learn. You go back and forth. You share experiences. So yeah, I mean it's intimidating from the outside, but when you get in there, it does become kind of this energy where you're trying to help each other. And I think lots of class, and I think that's the energy you give as far as class. You're trying to teach people.
Yeah.
Like from the first day when I first met, hey, you want to learn something new? Sure, why not? Get over here. Let me just wrench something, and we're going to learn this.
That's my favorite. When people, my favorite thing is when people say, I remember when we first met, and I get scared, and I worry for a second, and then they go, "You taught me this," and I'm like, "Yes," and I'm like, "Do you still use it?" And they're like, "Yes, I do," and I'm like, "That's the ultimate."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could be. So take us back to.
Oh yeah. We got off. So the Zoom.
Like I said, I just want to have this conversation because I never get to sit down with you or talk because you're busy, I'm busy. But
so the Zoom class.
Zoom class, yeah. Okay, now you have to change the way you teach in order to survive. So that wasn't that huge of a deal for me as far as a class goes, because I really like, again, with the martial arts and stuff, body weight exercises. Body weight exercises are amazing. I love them. I have a little warm up that I don't like to call it a warm up because whatever, but it's a mobility warm up that I have folks do at the beginning. The first 20 minutes of mobility that I have folks do. After 20 minutes, I feel like everything's good to go. Every joint has been moved in pretty much every range of motion, and at the end of it, I feel ready to rock for the workout. So, and then from there, it's just a matter of 20 years of martial arts and fitness, and it wasn't really super difficult. It was only after, I don't know, I'm just gonna again guess a number that we said 4 weeks, grab 3 or 4 weeks, grab dumbbells. You don't have dumbbells, you can't buy them. Make some dumbbells, go grab water jugs. Yeah, there you go. There's an 8-pound dumbbell. Fill it with sand. There's a 12 to 13-pound dumbbell. And then, and I could theoretically just teach the rest of my life doing only body weight. I would get bored, but just saying. I could also give me one dumbbell and I could crush people the rest of my life, So I'm not weighed down by the lack of equipment. I actually don't need a ton of crazy stuff. I like a dumbbell, a kettlebell. Like when it came time for my wife to say, look, we can't buy a ton of equipment because my fitness area at the gym, I had to have as much space as possible for jiu-jitsu, and then the smaller space for the fitness area.
But I was like, look, for fitness for the first couple of years, get me a trap bar with some plates, give me a pull-up bar, dumbbells, kettlebells, bands, a
Yeah,
battle
your
rope.
current spot, you have
That's
that
it.
perfect spot. You
It's a
had
perfect little
plenty
thing,
of
right?
space.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone that was at the class, they were all big guys. They were all taller than us.
Mm-hmm.
And you had lots of space for fitness area, changing area. So yeah, you don't need that much space for just general conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
And so you were doing that just trying to wait it out when you were doing the zooms. You didn't know. You didn't all.
Nope.
None of us knew what.
None of us knew. So right. So I did that. So we locked down St. Patrick's Day, right? So St. Patrick's Day, and then after panicking about existential dread and wondering if we're going to be Mad Max in a few weeks, and like, okay, things are just they were riding. I started riding around the neighborhood, just calling every real estate agent around and just seeing what showed up. And second place we saw, my wife's an interior designer, and she was in property management before that. She was like, we can't let the person know that we like the spot. She walked into the second spot. She just goes, this is it. I was like, okay, so much for showing her poker face. She was like, nope, this is it.
Yeah, and I'm sure at the time, I mean, during that time, there probably had to be good pickings because
it wasn't. There was a lot of spots to pick from. Mm-hmm.
I mean, in my neighborhood, all the streets, everyone was just dropping out as far as retail. So
I did. I kind of bet on myself there. I was like, so we kept it super small. And as much as possible said, look, you're only going to work with so and so. Certain people didn't care as much about about that as much as others, but we even still, like, I would, we were masked, and people could say certain things about that training in masks. We didn't know it was a new thing, right? So we just I still ended up catching COVID, and 3 people that I trained with when we were training still masked and all this stuff. Now, this is anecdotal, whatever, but one person that caught COVID, that her partner, who she was masked with, didn't catch it. Another guy who caught it, his partner didn't catch it because I don't know, was it the masks? I gotta say, it couldn't have hurt. They were doing jiu-jitsu drills masked, so I don't know. So
well, yeah, at that time, no one knew.
Nobody knew. We were just like, better safe than sorry.
Someone couldn't, so I mean,
people felt more comfortable. I was like, you feel more comfortable? Let's do it. So, and then we just kept it really small. I didn't do any advertising, and I kept it with just our handful of people, where we had like 4 people in the morning and 2 or 3 in the evening. And I was able to pay bills with that, and I was okay with that. I was like, let's start here. And I didn't do any advertising. And honestly, I still have it, other than just posting on social media. And then just as the vaccine rolled out, so that's where we're at now.
Because jiu-jitsu was at, I guess in the past maybe 3 years, was at its peak as far as like popularity. Everyone was talking about it. It was in, obviously people who do it talk about it the most, but then it kind of got a following just because as things like podcast group, people were talking more about jiu-jitsu, and the people who do jiu-jitsu were talking about it. So it just became this. When I started, classes were full, lots of new white belts, lots of new clean uniforms in. People were doing it, and that was great. And then boom, it kind of. I was still going as much as possible every day. They had to shut down, but I was still going whatever form they had just to support the school. I was going all the time. They can have my money. You want to shut down? I know they were sending out emails. Hey, can you help? Can you support? I'm like, yeah, just I want my school to stay open. That's all it is. And I just noticed just how it changed after that. Just then, boom, like classes were just gone. It'd be like me and maybe a couple other people, and it was like that for a long, long time. And it's kind of coming back to it's doing that again, which unfortunately it's bothering me that I'm noticing that people aren't coming back as much yet. But I understand. I mean, I'll be there and support whatever way possible. But you're starting this when people, the business side of it, numbers were, how many clubs were closing, how many people were losing revenue, how many people were losing their job because of the gym industry. We saw that in our business. I mean, that's, the business side is interests me a lot just because that's where I come from. I was running health clubs, but now I'm teaching it to students, on a university level. And I have to explain to them, okay, you're learning this stuff now, but it might not be the model that you have seen traditionally if you're getting into the fitness industry. Some people get into other forms of exercise science. So at that point, how did you have to kind of guide through not having a lot of people come into the gym, or how did you have to evolve it from 4 people, 8 people, or did you just naturally just let it grow?
I just let it grow. I let it take its, like it was pre-vaccine, pretty small, like I said, and we were okay with that. Pay the bills, and I was pretty happy, and I just was trying to do this, just write it out thing, and just say, hey, this is gonna end one day, and like right now, I'm just gonna teach these handful. I'm gonna make these handful of white belts like the best white belts in the world. They're gonna go into their blue belt knowing guard retention better than a purple, hopefully, and all this stuff,
Yeah, they were in it. They're gonna get more out of it because
So
they were there.
they're paying my bills during the time that I needed them. So I was really. I mean, I try to make every class great, but I was just going into it, not going, oh man, this is where we're at. No, I went into every practice going, it's just me and you and one other person. Good, you two, and I could stay away, and their partners could be over there. And it was fine. It was good.
So you were able to maintain that without having to really. I'm sure there had to be something that, but you were able to maintain the business to sustain itself.
Yeah, between that and Zoom, it was, and then some private lessons. I was fine.
Yeah, that's what I know. It's just people were doing whatever they could do to survive, whether it's just a fitness gym or Zoom.
Luckily, a good handful of my clients, their business either wasn't, their work either wasn't affected at all, or they were more in demand because they're in IT or whatever. That.
Or they're at home too, so they can. They're there. Yeah, it's not like they were gone and
right.
Oh, sorry, I have to quit. My job moved, or I have to be at work more. So yeah, it's one of those things where I'm trying to understand how the people that were able to survive, what did they do? I think they were just, I don't know. I think that's why I'm talking to you. People like you who have small business. They were just there. Business model shift. We go to Zoom. We do private lessons. We do whatever we have to do. Like I was telling you the story, the Concept 2 rower I bought it from a CrossFit gym in River North that they were doing anything to make rent. They had all these boxed up brand new equipment, which I'm sure they were going to use for their growth, but hey, there's no growth if I can't stay open now. So they were just selling them, and I was more than willing to, if it helped them stay open, fine. Whatever it was, that's just, I think we have to do whatever we can to keep the gym business open, because the more I'm reading about numbers, in states where they'll require vaccinations or proof to get in, and that's their own private business. If you want to stay open, do whatever it takes for your gym to stay open. Whatever you have to do to stay open, I'm all for it. Because at the time, no one knew, so everyone had to shut down. In Illinois, in Chicago too, jiu-jitsu gyms fall under, jiu-jitsu studios fall under gyms, so they have to do what everyone else has to do. Even though you do Muay Thai, I do Muay Thai. Where I do Muay Thai too, and then there's a jiu-jitsu studio. There's some things you can't do because it's close contact, but you have to follow the rules of the state or the city. So it kind of changed how classes were too. Okay, you could pout about it, but hey, you want the gyms to survive, just get in there, do whatever you have to do. And now it looks like it may be looping back again because of the new mandates, and hopefully this time it seems like we're learning about what gyms can do. If you have to wear a mask, if you're vaccinated, but you can still stay open, hey, just do it. I just hate to see the drop off with people just not showing up. Of course, we know, it's out there, but what can we do to help the gyms the studios survive. And I think everyone knows now. Gym owners will do whatever it takes. You'll do whatever it takes. I'm sure going forward.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, what's next? You got the new studio. It's great. It's clean. I like the studio. I like the building.
Thank you.
It's in Ravenswood. Now, is it just to grow now? That's it. Just
I mean,
sit there and just.
I honestly don't have a. I'm trying to enjoy the sweet spot for the first time in my life. You know, it's been.
That right now where
where it's
people.
and I'm just like, all I'm doing right now is having fun, teaching folks, trying to make them really good at jiu-jitsu, give them, like I said, we're doing lesson blocks. So we're back in the gi now for a handful of weeks. And so the section now so we'll work on a specific guard right now. And right now we're working collar sleeve guard. So all week long we've been working, okay, person's on the knees from collar sleeve guard. Boom, attacks off of that. And then next week when they come in, review that real quick at the beginning of class, go, okay, now for real, somebody's going to stand up. Now what do we do from there? Boom, boom, boom. Do that for a week. Okay, now the person gets rid of that grip. Do that for a week, you know. And then I'm not going to say that I won't sprinkle in other things,
Right.
but like I like to have a takedown series of the month or a takedown, but and responses off of that. A guard series or theme of the month, and then a pass of the month. Sometimes that'll change. Of course, there are these things in the middle there, like guard retention. I try to sprinkle in guard retention all the time. Try to sprinkle in escapes all the time, and just all the time. And that's one of the first things I make every new person do is they go off to the side with Melody, my purple belt there, and for a week or whatever the person needs, they're going to work until they're comfortable and until I feel like they're ready both. They're just going to work that old school self-defense stuff. And I even tell these folks, I'm like, look, it's your journey. If you want to do only this, we'll find a way for you to do only the straight self-defense stuff until I grow so big that maybe if that becomes a class in and of itself, we'll see. But I really want people to get out of jiu-jitsu whatever they want and take them along for the ride as it fits their journey. Most people, of course, after a week are like, no, I want to do that. Okay. Yeah, this self-defense stuff, I get it, you know, because you keep the self-defense stuff simple for a reason. It's supposed to work quickly and efficiently. So ideally, these people do get those moves down pretty quickly, you know. So then they want to come over and they want to, lasso guard looks fun or whatever.
And the way you teach it is as part of the actual movement. Like when I took your class, you were, you know, showing some takedowns, but you were throwing in, okay, what if their hand does this or their leg does that? Kind of helps people figure out where their body needs to be, you know, if they're blocking or putting their head down or getting their neck out of the way so they can't get choked and take it down. So I think that helps people understand the real scenarios in it. Yeah.
I try to give people concepts whenever possible. It's like, I think it was, I'm just going to throw, it was either like somebody like Paul Sharp or Chris Howard or one of these guys, I can't remember, that I was listening to. And they said that all self-defense comes down to 4 things: grip, distance, posture, angle. And I always tell people that on the first day they train with me. And I'm like, this is going to seem, you're like, oh, why does that matter? Until 4 months from now and they're starting to learn something. And I'm like, and they'll ask me a question and I'll go, you answer that question, because why would you not do what you just asked? Oh, because then I'm not controlling the grip. Or, because why am I doing this? And I go, why are you doing that? And then they'll go, and I'll go, it's one of 4 things, isn't it? And they're like, oh, because I'm taking the angle. So if I can get people to start thinking in this way where they can start answering their own questions. Now, of course, I never mind people, can I ask a stupid question? Bring it on, it's fine.
That's a great point in teaching. That's one of the things that people don't realize in teaching, that you have to let them figure out. And, you know, in martial arts or jiu-jitsu, it's probably, you can feel it more. You don't have to think about it or verbally say what it is, which is good. But I think you doing that, people will learn a lot of things that they have to problem solve in their brains, not only in anything that they learn, whether it's, you know, an actual course or education, but something physical. It's almost like one of those, I think of it as, okay, let's do all the wrong things. so your brain could figure out what the right thing is. So you're teaching these 4 things. Okay, let's do the wrong things and figure out what the right thing is, because sometimes you have to be choked out or hit or tapped, just so you know what the wrong thing is. Okay, now let me show you the right thing. And then that clicks for them, because, and this leads to my next question for you. I want to see where you're at on rolling, just rolling in general afterwards. Do you like people to do more drills and just keep drilling, or have them roll? Because rolling, then all of a sudden, I don't know, maybe they just get spazzy, or they just kind of get sloppy, or they kind of, does that help their confidence? And, obviously rolling is just part of what you do in jiu-jitsu, but when or how often do you do it? Because I know some sports, wrestling, other sports, you just do drills. You just do drills, and you don't get into the whole, okay, let's go roll and fight.
Yeah.
You have to do this over and over and over again. Maybe one day you get to drill. You guys can go have fun, like in gym class. Take the basketball, go shoot around, that kind of thing. But some schools have thought in like wrestling, and they probably do in other sports. I know they do shooting, target shooting. You start really up close, and then you move further away. You don't get to go far away and do the cool, Lethal Weapon, Martin Riggs shot, 1,000 yards out. I'm really good. That kind of thing. You kind of start slow. Maybe you get to have fun later, but start close. What are your thoughts on just rolling? I mean, I don't know.
So, that was another thing where I'm like, I don't think it helps any white belt most of the time. Again, I never say always and rarely say never kind of thing, right? However that saying goes. But there's almost never and always and all that. Hard lines are tough, especially when you're talking about human beings. But almost never is it beneficial to have a person come into a business like jiu-jitsu and go, all right, day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, see how far we got to keep going with this. Depends on the person. Go get smashed and try to get out. I think it benefits more, and just try open sparring. It benefits much more to do sparring games, positional sparring, then have them graduate to full matches. And then even then, in those matches, like, I really prefer folks when they come to open mat, I go, probably not going to start just 2 white belts standing, go.